message this morning. We're going to move on to prayer to the end of the service this morning. Certainly, if you don't think time is precious, we prayed for one of my co-workers, Sister Sally Edwards. Her husband died on Monday night. I funeralized him yesterday. I talked to her on Friday, and she said, I'm not worried so much. But as she was talking, tears would run down her eyes. And I didn't know that he worked for the Postal Service as well. And he was scheduled to retire in 2 months. The Postal Service, 31 years. He put in his retirement. It's a process you go through. And he was scheduled, and as their celebration, they were going on a cruise, Sister Hernandez. They had, late last year, they had put their money down they had their dates, and they were going to celebrate his retirement on a cruise. And last week, the confirmation came in the mail for their cruise and their celebration. She said, I just can't stop crying. I just can't stop crying. And you don't know, you don't have the right words to, I ain't been in her situation. I've never been there. You don't have the right words. And all I could tell her, I said, Sally, he just went on a cruise without you. He just went on, you'll come later, but he just went on a cruise without you. I mean, because, she's going to keep those papers and whatever. And every time, the well is going to run. And I said, Lord, sometimes we can make preparations. And you got other plans. Some of us are waiting to be happy next week. When God said we ought to be celebrating the day. Because the day is all that we got. And sometimes we don't enjoy the day because we worry about the retirement party. Let me help you out. Sometimes we just might not get it. I'm not going to hold you long, got a short message, but I think it needs to be said. I need you all to go with me to the book of Genesis, chapter 8. The book of Genesis, chapter 8, the book of Genesis, the book of the beginning. Chapter 8. It's going to be dealing with Noah and the ark. We're familiar with Noah. The ark builder. Grandson of Methuselah. The great-grandson of Enoch. Noah. Chapter 8. And in your hearing, I want to start reading at verse 4, if you will. Genesis chapter 8, verse 4 says, And the ark rested in the 7th month, on the 17th day of the month, upon the mountains of Ararat. And the waters did cease continually until the 10th month, in the 10th month, on the first day of the month, were the tops of the mountain seen. And it came to pass at the end of 40 days that Noah opened the window of the ark which he had made. And he sent forth a raven which went forth to and fro until the waters were dried up from off the earth. And he sent forth a dove from him to see if the waters were abated from off the face of the ground. But the dove found no rest for the sole of her feet. And she returned unto him unto the ark, for the waters were on the face of the whole earth. Then he put forth his hands and took her, and he pulled her unto him into the ark. And he stayed yet another 7 days, and again he sent forth the dove out of the ark. And the dove came in to him in the evening, and lo, in her mouth was an olive leaf plucked off. So Noah knew that the waters were abated from off the earth. And he stayed yet another 7 days, and sent forth the dove, which returned not again unto him anymore. But I want to read verse 7. And he sent forth a raven, which went forth to and fro, until the waters were dried up from off the earth. And I want to talk about the message from the dirty bird. The message from the dirty bird. When you read in Genesis chapter 1, God created everything, he says, and it was good and very good. But when you get to Genesis chapter 6, when you get to, and people, you know what, I know we talk about Methuselah, and Methuselah living 969 years, that it's a reason that God allowed Methuselah to live that long. Now, I told you as the sermon began that Enoch was the grandson of Methuselah and the great-grandson of Enoch. Now, if you read behind Enoch, it said, and Enoch walked with God. And then as he lived, and Methuselah was born to Enoch, born to Methuselah, and Methuselah lived 969 years. And what that 969 years mean is that God was being merciful for 969 years. And after Methuselah died, and you get to chapter 6, it says, and it came up before God that man had got out of hand. He said man's imaginations and thought were continually evil. And he said, but Noah found grace in the sight of God. So in chapter 6, you'll read that he told Noah, I want you to build me an ark. He told him how to build it, what to build it, how large, how long. It was going to be 3 stories high. He told him, you know what? He said, now out of the clean beasts, I want you to bring at least 7 pairs. There was 14 clean beasts in the ark. And he said, now, of the unclean beasts, he said, I only want 2. He said, of the fowl, he said, they went in 2 by 2, but there was 14 of them there. He said, and they stayed. And I don't know if you ever read behind that. He said, even after they got in the ark, God said, now, I'm not going to let it rain for 7 more days. He said, I'm going to give the people a little more time. And you know what? They didn't change their mind. So he says, for 40 days and 40 nights, and 40 or 4, or a combination of 4, which means redemption or judgment on the part of God. He said, waters came down from heaven, and waters came up out of the earth. And they stayed on that ark 150 days. Now, there was one window, There was only one door, and God shut the door. And I understand why God shut the door. It was one way in, and you know what? And so you got to understand that Noah is a type of Jesus Christ, and the ark is a type of the church. Now, you know what? Now, they got animals, but no running water in the ark. You got people in the ark, and I don't hear him saying nothing about no. He said they got rooms and whatever, and he ain't saying nothing about no restroom now. They was in there 150 days now. It was people on the ark, that was all kind of animals on the ark. It got messy on the ark, but everything in the ark leaves. Only everything on the outside of the ark did what? It died. People, I don't care how bad the church is. I don't care how bad it is on the inside. You know what? If you're in Jesus Christ, it's better than being on the outside. Being on the outside. And he said, after 150 days, and notice when you go back and you look at how the ark was built, the window was put at the top of the ark. It wasn't put in the middle. It wasn't put at the bottom. And there's a reason for that. Can you imagine if you on the inside and you saw some of your friends float, you'd be looking inside the ark, looking at them to look at you dying. Especially if somebody you didn't like. But it was a reason, because if you looked out of the window of the ark, the only place you could live was look up. And let me help y'all people, you know what? Ain't none of us perfect. All of us got our faults, and let me help you out. But we say because we're in the ark. And the only way we ought to be looking up, we ought not be looking sideways, we ought not be looking down, we ought to be looking up, because you know what? It's only by the grace of God that all of us are saved. But it says after 150 days, the ark landed on Mount Ararat. And when you get to verse 6 of chapter 8, he says, now, he said, and it came to pass in the 40 days that Noah opened the window of the ark. And he said he sent forth a raven, which was went forth to and fro, until the waters were dried up from off the 40 to the up from off the earth. Now it was 150 days in. Now it was another 120 some days before the water dried up on the earth. But the problem is that the raven left, but it never came back. That's what I want to talk about, the message from this dirty bird. There's a message. Because if you keep reading, it says the dove, 7 days later, sent the dove out. And the dove went out, and you know what? And came back. He waited 7 more days. The dove went out and came back. He waited another 7 days, and the water was gone, so the dove didn't have to come back. But my problem was, what happened to the raven? What happened to the raven? Now, for 150 days, now you got to understand now that the raven was saved, and some of us going to be able to identify with the message from that dirty bird, am I right? But you know what? Now, for 150 days, God had changed the diet of that raven. Now, the raven lived off dirty things and dead things, am I right? But if you go back to the book of Leviticus, God had, in that ark, he also had food. In that ark, he had put enough food and he had changed the diet of the unclean beast and fire. He had put them on seed and fruit. But after 150 days, and you got to understand that his mate was on the ark. But when he let him out, it said the raven never came back. Now, notice it said he came back, but he just never came in. Because he said he went to and fro. Now, he landed on top of the ark, but he just wouldn't come back in the ark. You say, well, Reverend, what's the message? What's the message? Is that sometimes, if God gonna change you, you ought to stay changed. You ought to stay changed. And that's what Deacon John was talking about. If we're going to be committed to go in the ark, at least we ought to act like God has blessed us since we be on the ark. Now, notice when he got outside the ark, you know that raven went back to being a raven. He saw all them dead animals, all them dead bodies. He said, now look, I ain't got to go back to no fruit and nuts when you know what? I ain't got to be on no diet when I got all of this banquet. And see, sometimes the problem is, once God saves us, and then we get back outside of that, we go right back to doing what we used to do. Now, you notice he said he went to and fro. Now, he come back and land on the ark. Y'all know sometimes when trouble brings folk back to church, but they come back on the church, but they don't really come back in the church. See, that's the message of that dirty bird. That's the message. But you know what? And notice he said, I told you that his mate was still in the ark. The other raven didn't leave. The female raven didn't leave. You say, how you know? Because it said he. And then when we started talking about the dove, it said her. See, the problem is, the message is, you know what? If God has given us everything we need in the ark, we ought not be trying to find ourselves out of the ark, of the safety of that ark. And notice he said, he kept coming back. But did he go back out? He kept coming back, but he'd go back out. And see, the message is, and it's not a good message from this dirty bird. See, you know what? He forgot that God had cleaned him up. And you said, Reverend, how do you know? And God didn't kill him. You said, Reverend, how do you know God didn't kill him? You still see ravens, don't you? You still see a whole lot of ravens, am I right? He said he had both male and female. And see, it's another message here that we miss. It's another, with this ark, you know what? I always use this scripture when he's talking about, you know, when homosexual, I was born this way. He said, no, both male and female. That has to do with the beasts, that have to do with the animals, that have with the living creatures. That we said, you know what? He said, because they need to procreate once we get out of here. And once it hit Mount Ararat, he said, but then that dove brought back a leaf on his second trip. That means the waters had come down. And then it says Noah held him back for another 7 days before he sent him back out. And all he was saying is, you know what? That olive leaf is, that is some peace on earth again. See, an olive branch is a branch of peace. He said, you know what? And God is giving us a brand new beginning. And if God is giving us a brand new beginning, why do we have to go back to old things? If the old things didn't save us. And let me help you out. You know what? God chose which raven. This raven wasn't so good or so awful. God chose this raven. Neither what it says God chose us. and then saved us. The least we can do is when he sent us out for a message that we come back in where they're saved. And you know what? This Reagan was also disrespectful to know who you think fed him for 150 days? Who you think took care of him? Who you think took care of his waste? Who you think took care of him and his spouse? You know what? Noah and the family took care of him, but when things seemed right for them, they got out. And you know what? They said he never came back. The problem is, have God saved us? Have he taken care of us? Have he blessed us? Have he used us? The least we can do when he give us a new beginning is stay with the ship. See, we need to learn to stay with the ship. See, I don't care how bad the church is. We need to stay with the ship. But you know what? It bothers me that folk get mad and leave and say, I'm going somewhere else. Well, don't go nowhere else and join. Because see, that ship is just like this ship. It's got imperfect people. It's got imperfect problems. And I tell you all the time, if you find a perfect church, do not go in. Because as soon as you do, it just became imperfect. My problem is, and one of the prayers I've had since the beginning of 2012, Lord, just bring the ones back that had no reason for leaving. Now some had good reason, that's fine. Lord, just bring back the one that left that had no good reason. Well, I'm mad at somebody. Well, let me help you out. You know what? When you get to the next one, are you going to be mad? What are you going to do?
Come on now.
See, that's the message from the dirty bird. Well, let me, and I smile when Deacon talking about commitment. See, it's all about commitment. See, once you commit, you ought to commit. And then I asked him, man, he preaching my sermon. Then he talked about that time thing. Hello, lights.
Yeah.
Hello, lights. I ain't got to talk to the walls in the pew today. I'm just going to talk to the lights. Am I right? We pay our bills on time. Am I right? We make our appointments on time. Am I right? We pay our house note on time. We pay our car note on time. Am I right? We make all of our appointments on time. But when it comes to the ark that saved us,
All right.
we ain't never on time. And the only way to get on time is to be early. Am I right? I know y'all don't hit that time clock in the morning. Am I right?
Right.
And you ain't gonna, you know what? Every now and then you'll hit that time clock. Be honest with me this morning. You know, and I'm not getting mad. I'm gonna pray for you in a minute. How many of you all were speeding coming to church? Raise your hand. You broke the speed limit coming to church. Raise your hand. Be honest. I mean, ain't nobody. You know, if you broke the speed limit. See, the only reason he broke the speed limit coming to church is because he was late. Am I right? See that? He thought he could make up time. He still was late. You know why he was late? Because he started late. Now, how many gonna be late? Planning to be late in the morning? Come on, dirty birds. Now, for 150 years, God took care of them. God blessed them. God did everything that raven needed. And as soon as he opened the window, he said, I'm going back to what's familiar to me. Familiar to me. Familiar. What if God would hold back our air 2 seconds? What if God would hold back our blessings for a couple of days? Verse 7, and people, I want you to say, and he went forth a raven, which went forth to and fro. That means he went out, did his business, and came back, but he didn't come back in. See, that to and fro ain't. See, go back a few chapters. I'll go further and talk about Job. He said, Job, say where you been? He said, I've been to and fro, seeking whom I could what? Divine. Walking up and down the earth. See, sometimes people, you know what? We think we coming in the church, really we just coming to the church. You know what? Because see, the message of the dirty bird, see, I'm just going to come back to the ark because, see, you know what? I'm going to feed what I want to, then I'm going to come back. So I know it's safety at the boat. the message ought to be like the dove. The dove went out. And the only reason he came back the first time, you know what? He said, because I didn't want to get my feet wet. See, a dove, you know, his feet is important. And see, once God has cleaned you up, y'all not want to walk on dirty things. So you know what? He said, well, you know what? No, I need to get back. And notice he said he came back to the ark, and he came back to the window. So when he came back to the window, the type of Christ brought him back in. And Noah waited 7 more days and sent him back out. And he got to flying around, and he came back with an olive leaf. He said, you know what? It's getting better out there, y'all. It's getting better out there. You know what? I can see the top of the trees now. And you know what? And he came back to the window, and Noah brought him back in. And then 7 more days, he let him out. And the land was dry. He said, it's a new beginning. I can do it on my own. And you know what? If you keep on reading, he told Noah, Noah, it's time to get out the ark. It's time to walk on your own. And let me help you out. Once God has saved us. But see, you said, Reverend, what's the key here? What's the key? What's the key? And see, you got to read and study scripture. Now, notice the raven went out the window. And he never came back. The dove went out the window, came back in the window. Went out the window, came back in the window. But everybody else went out the door. See, God shut the door. But once God opened the door, everybody ought to be walking out the door. See, once God opened the door that you leave out of the door, see, there's work for us to do. You say, well, what's the work? People look at the animal. You don't think them animals went to work? Look at all them bugs. See, don't get mad at the bugs. They was on the ark. You don't think they did what they did once they got out, and it was a brand new day. See, it's a brand new day in your life. But we all might have the message of that dirty word. Once we got a chance to get out there and see, all Noah wanted to know was, what was it like on the outside? He sent that raven because he knew that raven could survive out there. But based on what he do, he felt that the raven ought to come back. But he didn't. God has saved us. He knows we can survive on the outside. But you know what? Our problem is we don't come back. We don't come back until some drive us back. Am I right? See, all I'm saying to you people, let's not be like the raven. Let's be like the dove. You say, Reverend, how you know you did? People, you know what? In the earth properly. You don't think you got some creeping things? Go out and dig around your yard. You don't think there's some animal? Every animal, every bug, every whatever was on that ark. And you know what? They survived together on that ark. And people, as messy as all of us are together, and we some messy folks, am I right? Am I all Reverend? No, I'm not. Yes, we are. We messy together, am I right? But you know what? We all in Jesus Christ, and we ought to be able to get along. Am I right? Well, I don't do it like somebody. Well, then, you know, somebody don't do it the way you want. But you know what? We in this thing together. I heard him talking about a man. You think it's been perfect for 25 years? People ain't going to be perfect for 25 minutes. Anybody been married any length of time? No, sometimes you walk out the house, I can't stand me. You ever heard somebody say that about you? And I know you'll get mad. But then you said that about them. I can't stand me. And right then, you can't stand me. Am I right? As loving as the Hernandezes are. And they love it. High school sweetheart. Am I right? She look at it. Alfonso is her boo. Her baby. How big? If you could find someone high school notebook, he got his name on it. Dana loved Alfonso. I'm not even looking at it. I know it's true. She loved her some ass. Am I right? But every now and then, while he goes, I can't stand it. Made me sick. I'm so mad right now. You know she called Darlene, Canessa, and Patricia. I can't stand him right now. He made me sick right now. But soon as he walked back in, the change her right now, am I right? Hey, baby, where you been? Let's see, go by Brown and bring what she like. See, but you know what? That's the way it ought to be. That's the way it ought to be. even in God's house. Sometimes we can't stand one another. But you know what? Y'all stay in here with one another. You know why? Because it's safety in God. We ought not be like that raven and leave and start hanging out with the dead birds and the dead snakes and the dead animals. You know why? Because what that raven failed to realize is it was some disease in that deadness. And the problem was, when he came back, he was bringing it back in. Close with this. Work with a young lady. Beautiful personality. Beautiful personality. I told her, I said, I'm not calling her now. I told her, I said, you are the perfect mistress. And she has been for 12 years. She's been dating this married man for 12 years. 12 years. I know them, long way. I've been when they start fooling around. Work with her. 12 years. She's the perfect mistress. She never complained. She never argued. And I said, you know what? But then him and his wife started having problems. I said, all hell finna break loose now. She said, well, we went to, I said, because as soon as he leave his wife, he gonna come want to live with you. And y'all ain't gonna be able to make it. See, you used to come and bring that money and leave. Now he coming and he wanna stay. So the other day his wife put him out. And he was knocking on the door. And now I said, baby, why you mad now? I said, see, now you, I said, what you felt really, y'all can't get married. Because see, when he eats, she, you know, he eat, and she can't be in the other room. She can't be in the other room. You ain't gonna sit next to me? If she go in the other room, he come in the other room. He's the kind, Brother Russell, she in the bathroom, open the door, leave the door open. She said, William, I'm already tired of it. I said, you know the problem is, he can't trust you. And you can't trust him. And y'all ain't gonna never make it together. And sometimes, and she called put my watch, we start at 7:30. At 7:45, her phone gonna ring. Where are you? Sometime one day she left and the phone was on her case and it was ringing and it was humming. I said, Diane, you want me to answer your phone? And she made a mistake and says, I know him too. She made a mistake, said, will you answer? I said, hey, look at it. His name is Pat. Not a phone, his name is Pat. I said, Diane can't come to the phone. We busy. Needless to say, he kept on ringing, kept on ringing. I said, don't answer. Don't answer. She didn't answer the phone. He started calling the office phone. Diane, line 4. I said, don't go to the phone. Don't go to the phone. Don't go to the phone. And she had hell all the rest of the evening. But that goes back to commitment. Her commitment wasn't to him. His commitment was to his wife. And I said, you know what? Y'all never going to be able to make it with one another. So people, all I'm saying, since we are married to God, y'all not be cheating on the outside. You know why? Because we ain't going to never be able to make it with the outside. Because you know what? The world going to expose us. The world going to expose us. Right? Going to expose us. I knew him before I knew her. He can't stand me. We had changed phones for emergency. She was like me, she couldn't program her phone. So we had one of them youngsters program my phone with the names in them. So his name was Benjamin. I said, Benjamin, put my name number in the phone. And I said, don't put under Wheel. I said, put Big Wheel. So if I call her number, it ain't gonna be William, it's gonna be me. And one day I get him a call, he told me, what is number doing here? Now she can't erase and she can't either. So don't worry about it. Don't you pay your phone bill? Why he calling you? I said to you. Oh, well, you don't get them on kid, no, you don't do nothing. Close with you say, Reb, how do you know? And he should never, if he walked up here today, I'm gonna laugh in his face. Because Hernandez, he washed her hair one night. And she was washing her hair, and the phone was in the other room, and he couldn't get her, So she was drying her hair, and all of a sudden, she thought SWAT was at the door. Beating on the door. And she ran on the door. Where you at? He went in the bedroom looking all around, whatever, and he had on no socks, he had on 2 different shoes. Now, he's 30 miles from where she lived. Just because she didn't answer the phone, he didn't speed it. Now, you don't think that wife? How you explain 2 o'clock in the morning leaving with 2 different shoes? I just love my